Imagine being Prince William. You're the future King of England. You've got castles, tiaras, people bowing to you everywhere you go. You've commanded search and rescue helicopters. You've met every world leader worth meeting, and you've probably got more fancy dinners under your belt than Gordon Ramsay's cooked hot meals. But before we proceed, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more updates on this channel. Thank you. But tonight is different. Because tonight, at the glittering state banquet at Windsor Castle, your schoolboy crush, Claudia Schiffer, is in attendance. And who gets to sit next to her? Not you, not the future monarch. No, it's Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, the man whose approval ratings are currently somewhere between a wet weekend in Grimsby and a cancelled train on a Friday evening. Welcome back to UK Political Insight, and honestly, you cannot make this stuff up. This is the kind of political drama that writes itself, and we are absolutely here for it. So let's wind back to 2017 for a second, because this is where the backstory gets properly brilliant. Prince William did a documentary called Diana, Our Mother, and in it, he revealed one of those childhood memories that's equal parts adorable and mortifying. He came home from school one day, probably expecting a normal afternoon, maybe some toast, bit of telly, the usual. Instead, waiting for him were 3 supermodels. Not just any supermodels. Claudia Schiffer, Naomi Campbell, and Christy Turlington. Literal goddesses of the fashion world. And young William, who by his own admission had posters of them on his wall, absolutely lost it. He went bright red, fumbled his words, and pretty much fell down the stairs trying to leave. Classic teenage boy response, really. We've all been there, just usually not with actual supermodels arranged by your mom who happens to be Princess Diana. Fast forward to tonight. State banquet at Windsor Castle. White tie, glittering chandeliers, priceless dinner sets, the full royal works. And Claudia Schiffer is on the guest list. Now, if you're Prince William, you've got to be thinking, right, this is my moment. Redemption arc. I'm not a fumbling teenager anymore. I'm married to Kate Middleton. I'm confident. I can handle this. Except, plot twist, the seating arrangements have other ideas. Because sitting next to Claudia Schiffer tonight is not the future king. It's Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, who's currently so unpopular that even his own MPs are rebelling against him on a weekly basis. That Keir Starmer, the man whose government is postponing elections because they're terrified of voters. That's who gets the prime seating next to William's childhood crush. You got a feel for William here. The bloke's probably spent decades wondering if he'd ever get another chance to not completely embarrass himself in front of Claudia Schiffer. And when that chance finally arrives, Keir Starmer swoops in, like he's won some sort of political lottery. Although, to be fair, given how everything else is going for Starmer, sitting next to a supermodel at a fancy dinner is probably the only win he's had in months. Take your victories where you can get them, Keir. The guest list for this state banquet is absolutely stellar, by the way. We're not just talking Claudia Schiffer, though obviously she's the headline act for reasons we've now established. You've got Strictly Judge Motsi Mabuse, which is brilliant because if anyone knows about high-pressure performance and judging whether something's working or not, it's a Strictly judge. You've got film composer Hans Zimmer, the man behind some of the most iconic movie soundtracks ever. Gladiator, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Lion King, you name it. This is a man who makes orchestras sound like they're having an existential crisis in the best possible way. Then there's Axel Scheffler, who illustrated the Gruffalo, which is adorable and also slightly surreal when you imagine him in white tie discussing his most famous creation, a monster with terrible tusks and terrible claws and terrible teeth in his terrible jaws, while eating partridge wrapped in puff pastry, and German footballer Thomas Hitzelsberger, who spent the early part of his career at Aston Villa, which happens to be Prince William's team. So William could have been sitting next to him reminiscing about football, but no, he's probably somewhere across the table watching Keir Starmer attempt small talk with the woman from his teenage bedroom wall. Let's talk about this menu for a second, because if there's one thing the royals know how to do, it's put on a dinner. This isn't your standard 3-course meal. This is exquisite, written in French, because of course it is, prepared by royal chefs who've probably trained longer than most people spend in university. You start with an open tartlet of hot smoked trout with langoustines, quail eggs, and shellfish sauce. Already, we're operating on a level most of us will never experience. Quail eggs, langoustines. This is the kind of food where you're not entirely sure which fork to use and you're too scared to ask. Then it's Windsor partridge supreme, wrapped in puff pastry with confit cabbage and port sauce, served with crushed carrots and swede and winter vegetables. Now, I don't know about you, but the phrase partridge supreme wrapped in puff pastry sounds like something you'd hear on MasterChef right before someone gets eliminated for under-seasoning their sauce. But here, at Windsor Castle, this is just Wednesday night dinner, or whenever this state banquet actually was. Point is, this is next-level cuisine. For dessert, and this is where it gets properly decadent, guests enjoyed baked Alaska with blackberry, vanilla, and raspberry ice creams. Baked Alaska, for those who don't know, is that spectacular dessert where ice cream somehow survives being set on fire. It's the culinary equivalent of a magic trick, and it's absolutely delicious. Then coffee and peaty force to finish, because obviously. The drink selection is equally impressive. 4 specially selected wines throughout the meal, which you know have been chosen by someone whose job title is probably something like Royal Sommelier and takes their work very seriously. And after dinner, guests were served a Black Forest Gâteau-themed cocktail, which sounds both sophisticated and like something you'd order at a very expensive bar in Shoreditch while pretending you understand what's happening. The Duchess of Edinburgh's string orchestra provided the entertainment, playing music with a nod to the German guests. They performed pieces from Hans Zimmer's catalog, including Gladiator and Pirates of the Caribbean, which must have been surreal for him, sitting there listening to his own work being performed by a royal string orchestra. Then compositions by Johann Strauss, Mozart, and Handel, because if you're going to have an orchestra at a state banquet, you might as well go full classical. Now, here's a fun detail that really shows the thought that went into this evening. This is the first state banquet in modern history that features a Christmas tree at the foot of the table. It's there as an acknowledgement of German tradition, which is a lovely gesture considering this is a state banquet for German guests. But here's the logistics of it. That Christmas tree is a 6-meter Nordmann fir. That's nearly 20 feet of Christmas tree taking up space in the banquet hall. To accommodate it, they had to shorten the mahogany table by 2 meters, which meant seating 152 guests instead of 160. 8 people didn't make the cut because of a Christmas tree. Imagine being one of those 8 people. Sorry, we're not invited anymore. We needed room for festive decorations. But let's circle back to the real story here, which is the absolutely brilliant image of William watching Keir Starmer chatting away next to Claudia Schiffer. William's got to be sitting there thinking about that moment in 2017 when he admitted to falling down the stairs in front of her, and now here's the Prime Minister, who can barely keep his own party in line, having a lovely conversation while William makes polite small talk with whoever ended up next to him. Maybe it's Hans Zimmer. That would be a consolation prize, to be fair. You don't get to sit next to your childhood crush, but you do get to discuss the emotional depth of the Gladiator soundtrack with the man who composed it. The optics of this is just chef's kiss. Keir Starmer, whose government is currently imploding in slow motion, whose approval ratings are in the toilet, who's postponing elections because he's terrified of voters, gets to have this one glorious evening sitting next to a supermodel at Windsor Castle. Meanwhile, William, who by all accounts was incredibly popular, well-liked, doing excellent work with his various charitable initiatives, gets snubbed by his own state banquet seating chart. It's the kind of cosmic joke that makes you wonder if someone in the royal household has a wicked sense of humor. And you know what? Good for Claudia Schiffer. She's probably blissfully unaware that she's the center of this particular drama. She's just there enjoying her baked Alaska and listening to Hans Zimmer's music played by a string orchestra, as you do at state banquets, while somewhere across the table, the future King of England is quietly dying inside, remembering the time he fell down the stairs trying to impress her. The whole evening is this perfect encapsulation of the weirdness of British royal and political life. You've got the pageantry, the historic dinner sets, the priceless silverware, the orchestra, the Christmas tree that's so big they had to shrink the table. You've got celebrities and politicians and royals all mixed together in white tie, having what is presumably very polite conversation about very safe topics while eating food most people couldn't pronounce, let alone afford. And underneath it all, there's this absolutely brilliant subplot of schoolboy crushes and awkward seating arrangements that somehow makes the whole thing feel wonderfully human. The fact that this is even a story tells you something about how we consume royal news. Yes, there were important diplomatic discussions happening. Yes, this state banquet serves a genuine purpose in strengthening UK-German relations. Yes, the presence of cultural icons like Hans Zimmer and Axel Scheffler speaks to the soft power and cultural exchange that these events facilitate. But what we're really talking about is William's teenage crush and the Prime Minister's seating upgrade. Because at the end of the day, that's infinitely more entertaining than discussing trade agreements over Partridge Supreme. All right, that's the story of how Keir Starmer got to live Prince William's teenage dream for one evening, complete with supermodels, royal banquets, and probably the best meal of his political career. If you've made it this far and you're enjoying this blend of royal gossip and political commentary, absolutely smash that subscribe button because UK Political Insight is covering everything from state banquet seating drama to actual serious political catastrophes, and we're doing it multiple times a day. Hit the like button if you think William deserved better seating arrangements, or if you're just here for the schadenfreude of watching the future king get snubbed in favor of Keir Starmer. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done if you were 13-year-old William meeting supermodels arranged by Princess Diana, because that story alone is gold. And hit the notification bell so you catch every update as we document the ongoing circus that is British politics and royal life. I'm UK Political Insight, and I'll see you in the next one where hopefully we'll have recovered from the sheer absurdity of this particular